Davis Bryant's not quite deadline, but all right, let's break this down. So, a player can apply for reinstatement from suspension, the kind that Martavis Bryant had for substance abuse, 60 days 60 days prior to the 1-year anniversary of his suspension. He did so back in January. 60 days passed as of this week. I believe it was on Tuesday. No word back from the league. There was a report that his reinstatement is imminent, citing to anonymous sources. That was in the Beaver County Times. I spoke with his agent, and his agent said, look, we're waiting too. I don't know what imminent means. And the long and short of it is, and Brian McCarthy, the NFL spokesperson, explained this to Penlive via email as well, there's not a deadline. The NFL can basically do whatever it wants. The collective bargaining agreement allows the commissioner full discretion on pretty much all matters of discipline. That was somewhat contested last year under the PED policy in regards to James Harrison, but Goodell has all the power here. His representatives have all the power, and we don't know if Martavis Bryant has met with the medical advisor and medical director. Maurice Bryant says #Free Martavis in all caps. That's the idea. Mike Tomlin at the owners' meeting said that they hope he'll be back, and that he's a good guy. In my experience, Martavis Bryant is also a good guy. It's just a matter of him having sent in all the medical papers to the NFL, having agreed to the drug testing frequency that the medical advisor and director suggested, and then the commissioner and or his representatives have to meet with Bryant if they so choose, and then just render a decision, and it's pretty unilateral at that point. Another one who says that you think Martavis will be back. If I had to guess, I'd say so too. And to that end, I want to touch on a couple things that some of you brought up to me via Twitter. My handle is @Jacob_Klinger_. One of you has not nice things to say about Roger Goodell. We don't know if Martavis Bryant has done all his requirements, though. He even said in an interview with SA.com in January that the last time he smoked was 8 months ago, which would have put him in May, which is, you're not supposed to smoke when you're suspended for smoking, but he could conceivably have passed a drug test and be fine. And the moralizing aspects of this are sort of beyond the call here at this exact moment, but why is it taking so long? Well, it's because Goodell can do whatever he wants, and the owners' meetings for this past week. So it's a really, really broken system in that respect. And as far as it affects the Steelers and their planning for the offseason, it's not entirely fair to them, and that they have to go and look at, if you get Martavis Bryant back, you have one of the most dangerous wide receivers in the league. And if you don't, well, then you have to fill that hole in your offense again. They tried to last year with Sammy Coates. It worked for a minute, and then he broke his fingers. More complaints about Goodell in our comment section. We can go all day with that. Maurice Bryant is claiming to be Martavis Bryant's twin. Oh, Maurice, I would love to hear about your NFL career, but Arena League, CFL, I saw there's a Mexican Arena League, actually. One of you saying if the Steelers had Martavis Bryant, they would have went to the Super Bowl. Maybe. Le'Veon Bell getting hurt in the AFC Championship game, I think, continues to be understated. But on the subject of Martavis Bryant, a couple of you brought up to me via Twitter that you were bored by his Snapchats, and for that I can't even apologize because I'm not responsible for them. He did snap something with his shoes. There was one of a blank screen that one of you felt was more compelling than the shoe Snapchat. Seems like Martavis Bryant is at least as impatient as every one of us is in terms of waiting to hear back from the league, but that's all he really can do. I mean, the substance abuse policy agreed upon by the NFL and the NFL Players Association is pretty clear in its lack of clarity in terms of when the commissioner has to get back to the player, and all it says is that the parties involved will do their best, effectively, to have a decision, for the commissioner to be able to make a decision 60 days after the application is submitted. That time has passed. And I believe a reporter who covers the Steelers was in Phoenix trying to ask Goodell what was up with the Martavis Bryant decision, and he struggled to get called upon. So, yeah, none of us can really get answers there. So, we have a question. Do you think Goodell has a chip on his shoulder against the Steelers? Before I answer that question, I want to welcome Stephen Bailey to the Facebook Live. It's good to have you. Stephen's a fellow reporter, knows his football very well, and I feel his presence within the kitchen of my studio apartment. Do I think Goodell has a chip on his shoulder against the Steelers? I don't. I really don't. It would be speculative for me to say so, and you know, the Rooneys have a pretty good relationship with the league. They tend to toe the line, so I don't think that's in play here. I also saw a comment about the Patriots, and if Martavis Bryant had played for them, they'd be reinstated. I don't think that's true either, but I have no way of proving that. But if the Patriots ever sign Martavis Bryant, I look forward to covering it for you all. One last note. Some of you have asked about Justin Hunter, the former Buffalo Bills wide receiver. He's tall and he's fast. You get the idea. He was signed on a 1-year contract. And some of you all have asked, you know, was he signed as a safeguard against Martavis Bryant not coming back? And this is something we've talked about in this space before. To a certain extent, yeah, sure. You want to have that kind of receiver in your offense. I don't think it was quite that explicit, but the Steelers and any team would always be wise to try and build up some measure of an insurance policy against a player who fills that role, you know, in their roster, and they don't have it. When Sammy Coates broke 2 of his fingers last year, it made him much worse at catching footballs, and it seemed to get to him overall, and I don't know how it wouldn't. You know, your receiver. So, you know, beyond that, they have Darius Hayward-Bay, whose hands have proven susceptible in the past. They have Kobe Hamilton, who, you know, they mostly used as a blocking receiver last year. That didn't work out quite as well in terms of just being able to really make dynamic plays down the field. And Martavis Bryant is really just in a league of his own in terms of being a very large and increasingly thick, we're told, man who can create space for himself in short spaces. You know, we're talking about, if you were to imagine someone with the general frame of Usain Bolt, the Olympic sprinter, being able to cut in short spaces in a way similar to Antonio Brown, it's really problematic if you want to, like, stop him from doing things with the football. So, I think the Justin Hunter signing isn't unrelated. I don't think it's an explicit connection either. And I think it's a fine signing for the Steelers. Mike Munchak's acquainted with him from their time in Tennessee. They actually suspended him for a game, but it seemed to smooth out after that. So with that, I'm just going to answer a couple more of your questions. I'm disappointed not to have yet heard from Stephen Bailey. But one of you, Kelvin Nicholas Colbert, we got a lot of Steelers relations with the surnames this week. But it's time for the Rooneys to get involved, or at least a phone call. Yeah, I don't know how that works, and I don't think that's how it's supposed to work. So I wouldn't expect anything along those lines. Any inquiries that would happen from the Steelers ownership to the league office would probably happen unbeknownst to me. But, I mean, the Steelers have long said, and Mike Tomlin said it at his end of the year press conference, look, they're gonna scout the draft as they would anyway, and they're gonna approach free agency as they would anyway, regardless of Martavis Bryant. If the commissioner had sprung a surprise and reinstated him early, I don't know, you would have had a hard check on that for sure. But it is worth noting that if Martavis Bryant does get in trouble and violate the substance abuse policy again, his career is probably over.